by ASLEF for driver-operated trains, driver-only operated trains, which of course has been at the centre of this dispute. We understand some drivers have expressed concerns about visibility, that when they're in the driver's cab they can't always see the back of the train, particularly on platforms where there's a curve in the platform. The company has said they will address all those concerns. We understand also that the guards will stay on their new contracts as on-board supervisors, and they won't go back to their old contracts. There will be more details, but those, we understand, form part of the deal. So what's the reaction of long-suffering Southern passengers? We went to Brighton Station this afternoon.
It's about time this was settled. So people who travel to London like myself, people who travel regularly every day, get a decent service. Perhaps it's time that the company just gave up the franchise.
It's good to know that it's going to be okay for now.
As long as the drivers and the workers have got what they've wanted, which is to have a guard on the train, then that's good news. If they haven't got what they wanted, then I would feel kind of sad.
Well, although we are waiting for more details, as I say, it looks tonight as if the company have got a lot of what they wanted. Here's reaction from two of our region's MPs, the first of whom we also bumped into at Brighton Station today.
These talks have given us hope that talks work. I've always been of the opinion that striking never gets to the bottom of the problem, so I would urge both RMT and Southern to get round the table and let's get this resolved and let's get the whole railways working again.
Driver-only operation, from what we hear, is going to stay. Safety concerns, and there are some genuine safety concerns, are now going to be addressed, but we can now go forward. And I hope when we get the industrial dispute out of the way, we can then look at the intrinsic problems with the way Southern were running this franchise. The franchise is not fit for purpose. It needs to be revisited and possibly split up as well.
As Maria Caulfield said there, the RMT dispute still goes on, but without the support of ASLEF, they'll be under real pressure now to come to a quick deal too.
Phil Hornby, thank you very much.
In other news, a major police hunt is underway tonight for a car involved in a crash where a pedestrian was killed. It happened near Farnham in Surrey. The pedestrian, a 43-year-old woman, was struck on the A325 at Alice Holt Forest last night, close to the junction with Binstead Road. The collision involved a car and a motorcycle, but the car involved left the scene. It's been described as a dark-coloured people carrier, which is likely to have damage to the front.
A fly tipper who dumped sofas, mattresses and armchairs at locations across Hampshire has been jailed for a year. 27-year-old Ashley Mooney used to live in Gosport and touted for business on Facebook, charging up to £150 to take away your rubbish. He pleaded guilty to 19 offences.
Residents on a street in Poole say they're afraid to let their pets out of the house after two local cats had boiling water poured over them in separate attacks. One of the animals suffered serious burns across her back and head and damage to her ears on Foxholes Road in Oakdale. She's now being cared for by her owner.
It's a horrifying thought, because whoever has done this has deliberately set out to damage these cats as much as they possibly can. She's open to infections and she'll always need to go for regular checkups, and it's just literally been life-changing for her.
Well, the idea is not new, but more schools are considering plans to put back the school day.
Yes, instead of the 9 o'clock bell, the idea is to give students an extra hour in bed, which will hopefully make them more productive in lessons when they do arrive in the classroom.
Well, children, teenagers specifically, have different body clocks. Well, that's the theory anyway, which is why one school in Hove has plans for a later start and a later finish, as Malcolm Shaw reports.
Ask any long-suffering parent how difficult it is to get your children out of bed, through the front door and on their way to school in the morning, and their answer is likely to be a weary sigh. Sometimes it seems that adolescents in particular inhabit their own time zone. Now a secondary school in Sussex may have the answer. Blatchington Mill in Hove is considering shifting the whole school day forward 1 hour. Under the proposal, the school day would start at 9:25 in the morning and finish at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The school says that there's a growing consensus that early start times do not support what it calls the biological rhythms of adolescence. Scientists say there is some evidence that youngsters work better later in the day.
There seems to be a biological basis for this apparent teenage laziness of wanting to go to bed later and getting up later. And it's not simply laziness, there definitely seems to be a basis for this.
But changing the school day would impact family life too, particularly for working parents. So is it going too far?
When I went to secondary school, our school started at 8:25 and it was a lot better for all of us.
If it's scientifically proven then that's going to help them, then yeah, why not?
Itchen Sixth Form College introduced a 9:15 start 2 years ago and says achievement rates have gone up 3%. But the boss of this recruitment agency in Brighton says giving youngsters a lie-in sends out the wrong signals.
My worry would be if they rolled it out across all schools in Sussex, that the next generation of working professionals wouldn't be used to getting up ready for a 6:30 a.m. start.
But the head teacher of Blatchington Mills says this is about exploring whether the parameters of the school day are designed to get the best from students, whether or not we are playing to their strengths. It isn't about student laziness or poor punctuality. The school is consulting staff, students and parents before making a final decision. While some say tweaking the hours to get the best from children makes sense, others argue the lesson we should be teaching youngsters is snooze and you lose. Malcolm Shaw, ITV News, Hove.
Well, not surprisingly, plenty of views on this. Joanne Jury from Salisbury says if they can't get up in the morning, go to bed earlier. My son is up at 6:30, has to get a bus at 7:30. He gets his lie-ins at the weekend.
Donna Mepham from East Sussex agrees with that and says, how are they ever going to hold out a job if they can't get out of bed?
Well, Hannah Boyle from Worthing thinks it's a good idea and says most students don't pay attention in the first lesson anyway, which could damage their grades and be frustrating for the teacher.
Sarah Thompson from Brighton doesn't agree and says kids need to get used to getting up early. Stop wrapping them up in cotton wool. Thank you as always for all of your views.
Now, major changes to flight paths, the biggest in more than 50 years, will dramatically increase the number of planes overhead for some communities.
Well, campaigners say it'll mean more noise and pollution for those living in Sussex and Surrey. With more, our transport correspondent, Mike Pearce.
It's the biggest shake-up of our aviation industry for 50 years. The government says it's pressing ahead with a third Heathrow runway and consulting on redrawing all of our flight paths so more planes can use the region's crowded skies. Today it launched the most wide-ranging consultation ever.
The way we use our airspace is 50 years old. It hasn't changed for a very long time. The best comparator is the way it works. It's very haphazard, it's not at all exact, doesn't use modern technology. It's like a car driving up a motorway with no lanes, swaying from side to side. In this day and age, with modern technology, a plane can follow a much more exact flight path. You can vary the flight path to provide respite for communities. You can do the right thing for the people affected by an airport, as well as get better fuel efficiency up in the air.
Consultation on flight paths is highly controversial. The move will allow a 50% rise in flights by 2030, the majority over the southeast. Currently there are 2 million a year, that will rise to 3.1 million. It's claimed without the move there'll be a 40-fold increase in delays at airports. The move will allow a 50% cut in emissions, say the industry. There will also be an independent noise commission to ensure residents are not adversely affected. But locals say the proposal means planes are concentrated on exact routes, causing those underneath non-stop noise.
The thing is that if you concentrate, you are significantly impacting people. And where they might have been tolerant of dispersed aircraft, when it's concentrated over them, they're no longer tolerant because they feel trapped like a rabbit in a cage in a laboratory and they can't escape. No double glazing, no insulation can protect you from that constant bombardment of aircraft noise.
The industry say it's the only way to get more planes in the system and say there'll be long periods of the day when those under the new routes will have no flights at all.
We are committed to working with local communities to provide A, the capacity that we need for the future, but B, to address issues of noise pollution and air quality.
The consultation lasts for 4 months. Mike Pearce, ITV News.
Indeed, you are watching ITV News here in the Meridian region. Thank you as always for choosing us. Coming up another day, sadly, another weather warning.
Yes, batten down the hatches. It's going to be a very blowy day tomorrow. But just how strong will those stormy winds be? I'll tell you later.
Well, for more on all of our stories, head to itv.com/Meridian. Any views or any news, call us, the number 0808 1010 095, or get in touch via Facebook or send us a tweet at ITV Meridian.
An investigation by ITV's Tonight programme is claiming that the installation of energy smart meters could cost householders more than £11 billion.
Well, the programme says consumers should be wary of claims that the meters are free, as there is no legislation to make energy companies pass on financial benefits to the customer. The government, of course, insists the claims don't reflect the benefits of the meters. Over now to Kevin Ashford.
The government aims to offer smart meters to every home in Great Britain by 2020. The meters use a communication hub to transmit real-time energy use to a handheld display, with data also sent to your energy supplier. It means an end to estimated bills. The Shaw family were one of the early adopters of the new meters.
I think the really good thing about having a smart meter is that you feel a lot more in control. I'm keeping up to date with my bills in terms of knowing exactly what I owe.
There are concerns about the scheme, however. The £11 billion cost of the installation programme is causing disquiet, especially as, according to the Tonight programme, it'll be customers who'll end up paying for it over the coming years, to the tune of about £350 on every bill. That seems to run counter to energy industry adverts that claim smart meters are free.
At no extra cost.
It's not free. Nothing is free. And as we all know, businesses don't bear costs. Consumers or customers of those businesses ultimately bear those costs. And it is a sleight of hand that the government and everybody else play by saying, well, the industry will pay for that.
Put a £10 number for those, please.
Not all smart meter experiences have been positive. Kim Parkin had months of problems with hers before she ended up back on her old keycard meters.
The monitor stopped working, so it kept saying it couldn't sync with the meters. They finally sent somebody out at the beginning of December, and the first engineer that came out said he couldn't repair it, it wouldn't register with something.
The government told the Tonight programme smart meters are a vital upgrade, with the technology offering consumers a modern service that puts them in control, helping them save money and use less energy. However, Tonight says it's the energy suppliers who will benefit most. The programme says, according to the government's own official figures, consumers, who'll end up paying at least £11 billion for the project, are only predicted to get £5 billion back in savings. But the energy suppliers are going to get £8 billion in savings and ultimately won't be paying a penny. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
Well, ITV's consumer editor Chris Choi presents the Tonight programme Energy Bills, Can We Be Smarter? He's in London. Chris, the adverts claim smart meters are free. That isn't actually the case though, is it?
Not quite. When they come around and offer you one of these, and they're heading for every home in the region, they won't ask for money up front, but eventually the cost will go onto our bills over a period of years. And that cost is pretty staggering, £11 billion overall. For the Meridian area alone, we worked about £1.3 billion will be added to bills.
The statistics are staggering. By 2020, you say 3.7 million households here in the south and southeast will have a smart meter. But consumers in your programme have had problems, so what's your advice?
Well, the key thing is to learn how to use the handheld monitor with the smart meters. That will give you an indication of exactly how much energy you are using per minute. Now, if you can reduce that consumption, you can reduce your bill and therefore recoup any costs of installing these meters. If you don't change your behaviour, well, you could be the loser.
So, in conclusion then, smart meters, a smart idea or not?
Like all good ideas, fine in principle, but once they meet the real world and especially the reality of how families use energy, well, there could be problems.
Looking forward to the programme. Chris Choi, always a pleasure. Thanks for talking to us. And smart meter has been quite a talking point on our Facebook page today. Dermot Staybaker from Fleet in Hampshire says, "I've no idea whether it costs me more or less than before. It seems to me all it does is to save the energy company having to come and read my meter."
Well, Claire Hayter from Southampton wrote, "I've had mine for a while now and it's confusing me even more. Every day is different, even though I've done exactly the same thing as the day before."
Meanwhile, Leslie Harris from Portsmouth says, "I have one and I can tell you how much I use in pounds and pence. Mind you, I was frugal to start with, so it doesn't make much difference."
And final word to Ronald Silk from the Isle of Wight. He's had one fitted 2 months ago and says it does make you aware of how much you're wasting. But we also get a day's electric free, so you can guess when the tumble dryer goes on. Very clever. Thank you to all of you who've got involved.
Indeed, and a reminder, the Tonight programme, Energy Bills, Can We Be Smarter? It's here on ITV, of course, at 7:30 this evening.
But the ITV Evening News continues now with the national and international news at 6:30. Here's Mary Nightingale with a preview.
An independent and truly global United Kingdom. The government's Brexit vision for Britain. New controls on immigration and what they call the most frictionless trade deal possible. Struck off for misconduct, the human rights lawyer who brought abuse cases against British soldiers in Iraq. And why Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Australian Prime Minister are the latest targets for Donald Trump. Do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Well, thank you. In the meantime, some sporting news for you. And a homecoming parade for Gosport sailor Alex Thompson, planned for this weekend, has been postponed due to a forecast of poor weather. Hundreds were set to welcome Alex back after he finished second in the Vendée Globe. He was due to sail into Portsmouth Harbour on Sunday afternoon, surrounded by ships and boats. The homecoming now expected to take place next weekend.
Bournemouth striker Callum Wilson has been ruled out for the rest of the season after injuring his knee in training. The club say Wilson will be out for around 6 months after rupturing his cruciate ligament. Meanwhile, Southampton say defender Virgil van Dijk will be missing for 2 to 3 months with an ankle injury, which means he'll miss the EFL Cup final.
This year's glorious Goodwood has been given a boost with news the Qatar Goodwood Cup has been upgraded to Group 1 status. It means there'll now be 3 races of that status during the festival week, which starts on August the 1st. Bosses at the racecourse in Sussex say the Goodwood Cup will now have a total prize fund of at least £500,000.
Now, 2 young women from Southampton are striking a blow for equality in one of the last male-dominated sports of boxing.
Yes, though women's boxing has been an Olympic sport now for 2 games, with Britain's Nicola Adams, of course, twice bringing home gold, they believe it doesn't get the recognition it deserves.
So they've enlisted the help of Fixers, the campaign that gives young people a voice to encourage girls to get down to the gym.
At uni, everyone's about going out, getting drunk, and I kind of wanted to come out of that and just really wanted to focus on a sport that I can kind of progress in.
The last couple of years of my early teens, I was sort of misbehaving a bit, getting involved with the wrong people and stuff, and then, I ended up getting into a bit of trouble.
Boxing just changed me as a person. It gave me a boost of confidence that I didn't know I had. Physically made me a lot stronger. I was mentally strong. I was planning on being a lot more organised, not just with boxing, but also with my uni work.
Ever since I started boxing, I've just completely changed. If I come across a challenge, I face it differently. I've been a lot more confident. I've known how to promote myself as a person, and it just makes you feel generally that your self-esteem sort of goes through the roof. I'm Natasha McCormick. I'm 16 years old.
I'm Shakiba Magaram, I'm 23 years old, and we're both from Southampton. Our Fixtures project is about promoting the benefits of boxing for girls. We put on a demonstration for some pupils from Chamberlain College, a local secondary school.
Double jab. Good.
Whenever I've had issues at school, I'll come to the gym and it just really makes you calm down and sort of take things step by step. And I think maybe that's to do with the way you train and you put that into your life and sort of use that in day-to-day things you do.
I just said that is definitely worth taking up because it's really good.
I think anyone could do boxing. It's not about boys can do it or girls can do it. Everyone gets anger, so everyone can get it out on boxing. It's just makes you energetic. Just because I'm not muscly and stuff doesn't mean I can't punch.
So, is enough really being done to promote female boxing?
I think the answer would be that there's always more, which can be done, but that we at England Boxing are doing the very best that we can with the resources we have.
Is there anything that could make a real difference now?
I think if we were to work with the top 20% of clubs who are ready and able to engage with projects like increasing female participation, we can link them up with local schools, we can market that they're available and looking to take on new female members and help them to improve their gym spaces.
You ever been hurt while doing?
My first ever bout, I had a black eye, but I don't know, you come out and you feel a lot stronger because you've gone in and give it your all.
90% of the people that come to this gym, for example, don't spar and don't compete. They just do it for well-being, fitness, as a means to take out their aggression and to meet new people and be friendly and positive and stuff.
It would just be nice to see younger girls, like teenage girls, get out there and sort of try and do something different.
I just want people to kind of see boxing as the sport that it is. It has so many values and there's so much that comes with it, and I want people to see that, and I want girls to see this and to kind of think, you know what, I'm going to go down my local gym and give it a try.
Exactly, and more on the Fixers project and details about the charity, go to fixers.org.uk.
Now, our friendly comedian Ricky Gervais is offering his support to a charity which helps find new homes for stray dogs and cats from Afghanistan. Many brought back, of course, by the soldiers and Marines who found them while on duty over there.
Now, the charity Nowzad is being given some of the proceeds from Ricky's latest tour, as Duncan Slightholme explains.
There's a very strong bond between Penfarthing and his dog Tally. She was one of the first animals he brought back from Afghanistan. He'd been on a tour of duty with 4-2 Commando Royal Marines in the town of Nowzad in the Helmand province.
She actually brought her little pups in underneath our back gate. She crawled in with a little pup in her mouth and then dropped it off on our side. And then she went out again and brought another puppy in. She did that 6 times.
The charity's now reunited more than 1,000 service personnel and contractors with the animals they've befriended while serving on the front line. They've been rehomed around the world.
The soldiers, just as I was, they were serving out in Afghanistan, and they've come from all over America, Canada, Britain, New Zealand, South Africa, all the European countries. And these animals, dogs and cats, have actually befriended the soldiers have befriended them, have helped them get through their tour of duty. And at the end of it, just like I was with the original dog, I couldn't bear to leave that animal behind. Here we've got a couple of special dogs.
The charity's grown and now runs a sanctuary and veterinary clinic in Kabul. The aim is to find good homes for stray and poorly treated animals and improve the welfare and conditions for other animals in the country. Ricky Gervais is becoming a patron and is donating proceeds from his recent stand-up gigs.
He came to us and said he'd like to support our charity. And we thought that'd be absolutely fabulous. We didn't realise, though, that he would then be there tweeting us, putting out Facebook messages, and even more amazingly, giving us the proceeds from a couple of his gigs that he's just done for events up in London to the charity, which for us has just been absolutely amazing to have that level of support.
Penn is now packing for a return to Afghanistan. As a Marine, he was involved in a war on terror. As a civilian, he's continuing to fight to save animals from suffering. Duncan Slightholme, ITV News.
What a lovely idea.
Such good work, isn't it? Now, continuing the animal theme, Simon's here.
Yes, and some very clever animals at that, because we take them for granted, don't we?
We do.
We think we're the bosses. However, animals have the upper hand. So, first picture here from Rod Stewart, and that there is proof that not that Rod Stewart, a different Rod Stewart. Clearly. You wear it well, by the way. But sheep aren't daft, says Rod, and this is why. He came across this line of sheep this morning as he wandered round Sussex. He then decided to look at where they were walking in single file alongside the hedge, which kept most of the damp air off their backs. However, he, as a mere human, was in the middle of the field facing the wind.
Could be the title of his next single.
Sheep
aren't daft.
Yeah, or facing the wind, or possibly both. Anyway, look, speaking of clever creatures, Ray Mail sent in a series of photos. Something of a soap opera going on here. All happened at his pond last Friday when he put the bird seed out. Hang on a minute, who's that lurking underneath?
Who is it?
Not sure that's a bird there, but certainly hungry. Now, who said there was no such thing as a free lunch? Oh, wait, hang on. Nobody mentioned the security squirrel. Look, could be worse though, it might have been a cat. Speaking of which, do you think Vanessa's much-loved cat Nero was putting pressure on that mouse in the garden? Do you think the mouse even knew it was there? Look, we don't know how it ended. We don't know how it ended. But solution if you're hungry, mouse, disguise yourself as a fat ball. Look, mind you, the question is, how do you get up there? Thanks to Cindy Travers in Hillhead for the photo.
So Doris has been downgraded.
Yeah, the storm is not called Doris.
But it could be a bad hair day for you and me tomorrow.
Much like it is every day, Fred.
For us too.
Yeah.
Let's find out. Here he is with your forecast, Simon Parkin.
From blizzards to pool, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Well, you might have noticed it was a tad blowy out today, certainly this morning in Swanage. Very choppy seas too. Paul DeMarco was there first thing with his camera. Tomorrow, by the way, is going to be even stormier. Now, it's not a named storm, but it's a deep area of low pressure that tomorrow is going to affect us here in the south of the UK. So a Met Office weather warning for very strong winds, gusts of between 60 and 70 miles an hour, quite likely along the coast, 40 to 50 miles an hour inland. So that warning covers us from 11 o'clock tomorrow morning until 3 o'clock on Saturday morning, because there could be some disruption. Certainly sea crossings will be a little on the rough side, and also if you're a driver of a high-sided vehicle or a motorbike, do take extra care tomorrow. For tonight, it's quite blowy already, a lot of dry weather, but also a few blustery showers sneaking in off the sea. There are also some clear spells through the night too, but because of the strength of the wind, temperatures not too bad and not really dipping below around 6 or 7 degrees. And then tomorrow morning we should get away with a dry start, bit of brightness too, but fairly quickly the cloud is going to thicken up, and then we'll start to see some rain push in from the southwest. Some of that rain likely to be on the heavy side, and it's as we head into tomorrow night's rush hour that we see that rain still lingering and the strongest of those winds. So very tricky travelling conditions for Friday night. You can see the wind swirling around the low pressure as it eventually eases away Friday night into Saturday. As for your high tide times tomorrow, well, we're looking at 5 to 3 in the morning in Brighton, then 3:15 in the afternoon. And then Saturday will be a better day in that it won't be anywhere near as windy, and it won't be quite so mild either.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Now let's see what's coming up tomorrow. We've got a crash, 2 cars and 2 very different results, as Lauren Hall explains.
We've been at Thatcham Research in Berkshire, where they put both cars through their paces. One a new model, the other on the market 2 decades ago. The tests demonstrate just how much car safety's improved since the introduction of independent crash testing. Experts here say we've come a long way, but we could go even further. We'll have the full details tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.
Interesting. Now, in just a moment, the ITV Evening News. Tonight, it's with Mary Nightingale.
Stacey's got our late news, so do join her if you possibly can. But for now, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you very much indeed for watching. Take care. Hang on to your toupees. Join us later. Bye-bye.
Thanks.